Hello everyone, this is Shlok, and today we're gonna be looking at the overlooked aspect of the GDPI prep, which is the GD part. So in the first part of this video, we're gonna be looking at some of the do's, and then we're gonna be looking at some of the don'ts of the overall GD process. And that's about it for this video, so let's get into it. So you enter the group discussion room and you've been given a topic, and these topics could be one of two kinds. The first could be the one that you're fairly aware of. It could be a simple, straightforward topic, such as, is India ready for EVs or electric vehicles? And that is one topic that not just you but everyone else would be comfortable about. So what is it that you should do in order to stand out? And here is where our first tip comes in, which is the fact that I want you to try your hardest in order to take the lead. And how do you take the lead? You have to start the group discussion, you have to give the introduction, so that sets the pace for the overall discussion, and that makes you one of the key persons who is involved in the discussion, because everything that goes on after your introduction is going to be based off of your introduction. So you become sort of the anchor point in the group discussion. Now I know it's easier said than done that you have to take the lead and you have to give the introduction and so on, but how is it that you actually do this? How is it that you actually muster up the confidence in order to go first? And for that, I have a few frameworks that I generously follow and genuinely follow. Apologies for the error over there. The first point that I really follow is the fact that I start writing down as soon as the topic gets over, and I don't waste time by writing down the topic again. Of course, the topic is fresh in our head. Start writing the points instantly. That what is your take? First of all, write that. What are the pros and cons of this particular thing? For example, we were talking about the EV topic previously. So is India ready for EVs? My go-to stance was the fact that yes, India is ready for EVs, and we have been ready for this for a couple of years now. And if this question was posed 2 to 3 years prior to today, this question would have made more sense. But right now, with the prevalence of electric rickshaws and etc., all of these points had already started, flashing in my head. And I of course, and these points flash in everyone's head, but you need to start writing them down. And when you have 3, 4, 5, 6 points written down, you'll have that courage, you'll have that confidence in order to go first and say, yes sir, can I please start the discussion? And that is how you set the tone for the discussion. The next point that I'm going to make is sort of an oxymoron. It is the fact that I want you to be intimidating but at the same time be gentle. And why am I saying that? I want you to be loud, I want you to be clear, but I also want you to be approachable in terms of discussion. I don't want you to be an autocrat, someone who wants only his point heard, but I want you to be someone who wants his point heard definitely, and that too loud and clear. So you don't want to be someone who is aggressive, who is cutting someone's points. Don't be that person, but definitely when you're speaking, make sure that you're heard in the room. So I just said become intimidating, but it's easier said than done. What I want you to do in order to actually bring this into practice is the fact that I want you to talk to the mirror, and even better is if you can talk to the camera, so that you'll be later on be able to see how you have been speaking, and you can see your limitations, your weaknesses, and you can work on those weaknesses. And even if you have a week to work on this particular art, you can improve your speaking skills by miles. So that is one very, very important tip, and that is something that I've been following as well. So please make use of this. Now let's come to the second aspect of the discussion, which is the fact that what if the topic that you've been given is something that you're absolutely unfamiliar of? Let's say you don't follow the news, and let's say the topic is the geopolitics of the United States of America. How do you tackle this discussion? Of course, you cannot be the first one who introduces the topic. You have to be the one that goes on later on. But how do you add to the discussion? And for that, I have another tip. That tip is the fact that you wait and watch. You wait, you see what the other person is speaking, what they are introducing, what kind of points they are bringing up. You see a couple of points that are brought up by other people, and then you add to the discussion. And how does this help? First of all, it gives you context on what is happening, and then you can build on that context. And let's say even after some people have brought in their own points, you're still not able to figure out, you're still not able to add to the discussion. What do? Worst case scenario, I want you to relate this particular topic to some example that you know of. For example, from US geopolitics, let's say US is struggling with Mexico, you can relate that in the worst case scenario with how India is struggling with Pakistan, and from that you can give out your own take. But in any case, even if the topic is unfamiliar to you, you have to add to the discussion. That is non-negotiable. The next topic that I know a lot of students, including myself, are scared of is the fact that what do we do about abstract topics? And again, this is something that falls in the upper category as well, where you wait and watch how the discussion unfolds. But let's dive deeper into how to deal with abstract topics. Coming to the slide about abstract topics, I want to take a couple of examples and then I'll be giving out one more assignment that we'll all be solving down in the comment section below. So stay tuned for that. So let's look at the first topic that I've been facing in one of the mock interviews or mock GDs that I've taken. And the first topic in that regard is a pink flag on a blue temple. So, all right, at a first glance, we imagine there's a temple and there's a pink flag, and there's a blue temple and there's a pink flag on top of it. And what can we possibly say about this? We have to sort of go beyond the optics. By optics, I mean the visuals. We have to sort of dive beyond that. We have to look beyond that. And the first thing that comes to mind whenever we think of the colors pink and blue is the fact that blue signifies a male individual, while pink signifies a female individual. And the first thing that came to my mind was the fact that how a woman is behind a man's success. So that is something that I could have elaborated on. Some other takes that I heard from the people in my group discussion was the fact that how the blue temple is the overall world, and how pink signifies women empowerment in the world. So that is yet another take on this particular abstract topic. Let's look at the assignment theme, which is breaking the glass ceiling. All right, I want you to write whatever your thoughts are on this particular topic down in the comment section below, and I'll also be writing my own thoughts on it. So it's going to be an interesting discussion. So let's get into the next very crucial point. Now let's address aggressive group discussions, and this especially happens if you are interviewing for a very big name college. Let's say you're interviewing for an XLRI. Now I have not personally participated in an actual XLRI group discussion, so this is only from something that I anticipate. So take this with a fistful of salt. But the most important thing that I anticipate over here is that the kind of peers that I'll be seeing are people who have a lot of great exposure, and they'll be also the ones that want to jump in and start the discussion. And here I assume that there will be a lot of aggressiveness in my particular group. And how do I deal with this aggression? I've seen that what happens is a lot of people want to get a chance to talk. And what happens in these cases is that nobody is able to talk. Everyone is cross-talking and no kind of fruitful discussion takes place. And what do you do in such a circumstance? What I have noticed, the best way to navigate such a scenario is that you have to wait for the right chance. You have to wait for even a fraction of a second of pause, and you have to jump in. And by that, I mean you must jump in, because a lot of things are on stake when you are in such a group discussion. So what happens if you do not get such an opportunity? You do not get even a fraction of a chance to jump in, and even if you do, you weren't able to take that opportunity. What if that's the case? In that case, you have to crosstalk. You have to make sure that even if you are speaking and someone else is speaking at the same time, you can't be the one that backs off and lets the other person speak. You have to be the one that keeps on going, and you have to hope that the other person backs off, and you have to hope that you get maybe 30-40 seconds of time in the group discussion. So that is one important part, that what to do when you are facing an aggressive group discussion. What if we are in a group discussion that is the opposite of something that we have just talked about? What if it is a dull group discussion, and what if your peers are not taking initiative in order to talk? I think this is a great place for you to shine. And if you find such a particular panel of group discussion, you should be thanking God that you finally found somewhere you can shine. And of course, here I want you to take the lead, take entries as many as possible. And one more important thing I want you to do here is be the bigger person. And I want you to not become an autocrat, as I've already mentioned. I want you to give the chance to people to, once you've put forth your point, you can go on and say, I would really appreciate if you or anyone else, and if you can remember their names even better. And in some cases, even placards would be placed in front of their names. So if you can say that, let's say XYZ, can you please, come forth with your own points? It would really add value to the discussion. If you can say some things like these in order to make it an inclusive discussion, that would really add value and make the panel think that you're a democratic sort of a leader. The next crucial point of discussion is that I want you to be a conclusion expert. Who is a conclusion expert? Someone who concludes the discussion absolutely well, and he covers all the major points that have been discussed in this particular whatever journey that you've been, the group discussion journey. And how do I want you to do that? The first thing that I do is I keep on writing everyone's important main points that I've talked about, including any particular data facts that they've mentioned. And yeah, one thing I forgot to touch upon earlier, try to include as many hard numbers in your particular points as possible. For example, you can go out and say that there are the population of India is 140 crores. You can talk about the inflation rate rate, you can talk about the repo rate, you can talk about things such as the maternal mortality rate, India's rank in the HDI index, and so on. These things really make you intimidating, as I've already talked about. These things make the panel think that you not only know the point that you want to make, but you can also back them up with data. So that adds a lot of value to the discussion. Coming back to the key aspect of becoming a conclusion expert, how do you do that? As I've said, note down all the important points and summarize them at the end of the discussion, and make sure you take the lead here as well. If you are starting the discussion, if you give in a couple of pointers through the discussion, and you also conclude the discussion, I think you've done a phenomenal job at it. And yeah, coming back to the conclusion, give the conclusion and don't add any new points while you're giving the conclusion, because one of the GDs I was in, the person that could not speak during the whole discussion came in during the conclusion and started giving his own points. So please do not be that person. If you are giving the conclusion, make sure that you're only highlighting all the things that were covered during the discussion, and sort of try to arrive at a consensus that the group has sort of agreed upon. All right, now assuming you've given a couple of points in the group discussion as well, I don't want you to sign off and I don't want you to relax completely. I want you to still be engaged in the discussion, because the panel notices all of these important things as well. That are you attentive in the discussion even if your particular part is over? So that is something that you should be vigilant of, and you should keep an eye out for these kinds of things as well. Let's come on to the things that you shouldn't do. These are the don'ts of group discussions or any sort of group activity. And the first thing I want you to do is do not get into arguments. For example, if you disagree with someone, as I've said, that if you say that, I do not think that this particular fact is correct, and if the other person says that, no, I've definitely cross-verified this and this is damn right, and even if you're 100% sure that what he's saying is wrong, I do not want you to get into an argument. You can always say that, let's just agree to disagree, and then move on to the next part of the discussion. Next aspect, something that I've already touched upon, is the fact that you should avoid laughing or smiling or giggling in any way, because this shows unprofessionalism and a lack of control on your part. And I don't want you to be not laughing in case whatever is being said is intended to be funny. If something that is being said is intended to be funny, or it is sarcastic in nature, definitely you should laugh. It shows wit on your part as well. So I'm not saying as a blanket no that you shouldn't laugh at all in group discussions, but you need to be able to understand the context and be able to understand where it is appropriate to laugh and when it is not. Coming on to the next part, signs of nervousness. What if you have a habit of fidgeting? What do you have a habit of clicking around with your pen, or you have a habit of shaking your legs? I want you to be conscious of these habits over the next couple of days, and you have to understand that you cannot be doing these in an interview setting or in a group discussion setting, because these show nervousness and a lack of self-control. So this is something that you need to be very, very careful about. The next aspect is eye contact. Now, what kind of eye contact do I want you to make, and what kind of eye contact do I not want you to make? The first part is that you maintain eye contact with all of your group discussion members. For example, whenever you're taking an introduction, I want you to maintain group discussions one after the other, with each panel, with each person of your particular group. And once that you're done with that, you can keep on switching back and forth from one member to the other, but never try and never try to make eye contact with the panelists who are judging you, because that sort of becomes awkward. The whole point of the group discussion is that the panelists are out of the bubble of the group, and they are trying to judge you from a perspective that is outside the group. So you should not really acknowledge their existence and make eye contact with them instead. It is okay if it happens by mistake, but you should not consciously put an effort in order to make eye contact with them and try to prove your particular point to them, because that is really not the point of the group discussion. The next part is, don't limit yourself. If you have a particular point in your group discussion, you need to be able to understand that you need to bring in multiple perspectives from your side, and this shows that you are a holistic sort of an individual, that you've read a lot and your knowledge base is not limited to any particular sphere. If you, let's say, are talking about the US from a geopolitical standpoint, you can bring in the economical aspects but also the political aspects. Then you can also bring in what kind of environmental aspects that they are facing. So you need to understand and approach it from different perspectives and show the panel that you are a well-rounded individual. So that's a little bit on my take about the interview and GDPI preparation. With that said, I'll see you in the comments down below, and bye.